What's good folks, it's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video, coming at you with the surging Chakram NEZHA with the DEADLY Prime versus level 5000 plus enemies, and we are one-shotting them. So if you love damage multipliers on top of damage multipliers and on top of damage multipliers with another dose of a damage multiplier, then this build is for you. This setup is simple, perfect for pretty much any content. It's solid and destructive. The two main sources of damage multipliers are Breach Surge from subsuming Wisp and Blazing Chakram debuff from NEZHA himself. I replaced Firewalker for Breach Surge. Now, Breach Surge has you send out sparks of energy that expand and latch onto enemies' faces. These sparks only affect enemies within line of sight, and enemies struck with this ability will be stunned and blinded, and damaging or killing enemies will spread this affliction to nearby enemies while carrying over built-up damage. And those enemies affected by Breach Surge will take multiplicative damage, and the blinded enemies are susceptible to stealth multiplier damage, so the scaling potential is high. Gas, Electric, and Toxin have a better synergy with Breach Surge that re-trigger the surge sparks on the enemy's head. The surge sparks that lash out to enemies deal radiation damage. Now, taking a look at Blazing Chakram, where I misread this ability and made a mistake, knowing full well now, this ability is pretty deadly without an augment. NEZHA throws out a Chakram that ricochets off enemies and objects, and each enemy hit will receive a debuff on them that has them take multiplicative damage from all sources. And this damage multiplier scales off power strength, and this will also deal heat damage and have a guaranteed ignite proc. Unfortunately, the distance and ricochet isn't affected by range. However, bouncing from surfaces can extend the Chakram's travel distance. You can hold down the ability to do a charge throw, but I highly recommend to not use the charge throw since it won't ricochet and it'll slow you down. Enemies also drop health and energy orbs upon death. NEZHA's Warding Halo, his third ability. This creates a fiery ring where you become invulnerable for 3 seconds and convert damage taken into a buff that reduces incoming damage by 90%. That carries over to shield and overshields, and the Halo grants complete status immunity. This fiery ring isn't based off duration but an ability that has its own health, just like Iron Skin, which scales off power and armor. And any enemy who gets close to NEZHA while this ability is active will deal slash damage, not bleeds, but slash damage, and stuns enemies. And when the health of the Halo is depleted, you become invulnerable for 1 second and release a heat wave, proccing the ignite status effect on enemies. Just because this ability grants you 90% damage reduction doesn't mean it will save you. Remember, 10% of a big damage number can kill you. So I'll be mostly using this for its iframes and status immunity. His fourth ability, Divine Spears, has NEZHA unleash spears that deals puncture damage and impales the enemies and incapacitates them. This ability synergizes with Blazing Chakram. An enemy hit with Chakram while impaled will create a second Chakram so it can ricochet to more targets, further increasing the debuff. Impaled enemies ignore nullification, meaning nullifiers cannot nullify enemies affected by the Divine Spears, so long as NEZHA himself isn't nullified. You can cast the ability again to slam enemies into the ground, dealing impact damage. Alright, now that you know what we're working with, let's take a look at the build. Brief Respite in the Aura for the energy to shield conversion, which helps us re-trigger our shield gate. Controlled Slide in the X-List to get rid of NEZHA's horrible passive, which shouldn't exist, so this mod shouldn't exist, and instead Natural Talent should be in the X-List mod. Power Strength at 214% from Controlled Slide, Transient Fortitude, and Umbral Intensify, giving Breach Surge a 428% damage multiplier and a 213% debuff on Blazing Chakram. That's a lot of damage. Stretch for range, increasing Breach Surge's radius to 26.1 meters and Divine Spear's radius to 27.55 meters. Primed Continuity for the overall duration affecting Breach Surge, Blazing Chakram, and Divine Spears. And Natural Talent to increase the animation speed for all the abilities, reducing downtime. Rolling Guard for the 3 seconds of iframes, which is useful when you re-trigger your Warding Halo or when your shields break. Alright, and also using one of the most deadliest polearms right now, the Guandao Prime. This is modded to scale with high-level enemies and synergize with Breach Surge, and not modding it to be a waste of space like using Virulent Heat, which you shouldn't do. Shivering Blade for the forward and block combo that can headshot, and the basic combos for the quick slashes. Condition Overload for the scaling damage with each unique status effect on a target, which we will get from the new core. Blood Rush for the crits, Organ Shatter for the critical multiplier, Weeping Wounds for the status chance, and Prime Fever Strike for the straight up toxin damage. And since the toxin heavily overweighs the physical damage types, this will have a higher proc priority, and all that damage will be multiplied with a primed smite mod, dealing multiplicative damage towards a specific faction with toxin and blades. And finally, range and attack speed. Do not let these go. And the Kuva new core, used just as a primer for several status effects, especially those viral stacks. 10 stacks of viral have you deal multiplicative health damage at 325%, and 10 stacks of heat proccing Ignite reduces the overall armor value by 50%, and all of these combos allow us to one-shot, yes, one-shot level 5000 plus enemies. Just imagine what it can do to fodder enemy levels. Alright folks, this is the Surging Chakram NEZHA Prime. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.